Let's go to the phone. Calling from a 570 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Excuse me?
Hello?
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 Oh, hello. This is Jules from PA. How are you?
Good. How are you? What's on your mind?
I'm doing great. I was listening yesterday, and you brought up as like a sort of joke, like offhand comment, Paw Patrol, and it got me thinking, like, there's a lot of talk recently about media portrayals of the police and, Law and Order and Chicago PD, and how this gives the public, a certain like favorable perspective of the police. But like, I feel like, not just with like shows like Paw Patrol, which are like a little bit more blatant, but even just like, any random show that doesn't necessarily have to be about the police, from like a young age, and maybe it's not even just the media, but also the way we like raise our kids. Children are taught to like have not even just like a favorable opinion of the police, but like a certain level of deference, right? So over time, by the time they're old enough to even watch Law and Order and Chicago PD and whatnot, they already have this sort of like subconscious trust for the police. So like it sort of makes them all the more susceptible to any sort of like propaganda efforts, whether it's on TV or otherwise, and like, give police officers the benefit of the doubt. So like, without sounding like, oh my gosh, we have to like, we need to have an overhaul on like all like information that we send to our kids, and like the like some kind of like how like people are like, we can't politicize the children, but like how do we make like kids more open to the idea that like, look, like the police aren't always there to just defend you and swoop in when there's an attacker. They're
all right, Jules,
they serve a different role in society.
I get your point. I mean, I think that, and I appreciate the call. I mean, I think that, frankly, I think to a certain extent, I think there is probably a racial disparity in terms of the way the kids are taught about the police in many respects. I think, frankly, broadly speaking, white kids are taught that if you have a problem, you go to the police. From what I understand, and talking to black folk with kids, that's not what they do. They warn them that police can be dangerous, and I think, my sense is that by osmosis, I think police are kids rather are getting a different assessment. I mean, I know that my 7-year-old, I think, is aware that that police can be in circumstances also can be dangerous. But there's a police officer who sits at the front desk of my kid's elementary school, and she's very nice and friendly, and that she's not wearing a gun. And so, kids are, depending on how they're situated, have different perspectives on it. I mean, I don't know if Paw Patrol actually influences people's perspective on police. I mean, the fact is that there's only one police officer who's a little doggy who's a police officer. The others are firemen or like pilots or something like that. I can't really remember. So I'm not sure the Paw Patrol is this, but
do you like getting high and watching Paw Patrol?
I don't. I am so glad that we're past Paw Patrol right now.
I would just say, I think it's an interesting conversation, though, about I mean, it's less established with police, although I think there's some connection that Alexandria Neeson and I talked about last week on Thursday, where she kind of did the history of sort of press deference to police officers and the, basically like things like the murder of Laquan McDonald is just completely falsely reported because the police are taking it, at face value until a video is literally, forced to be released by an attorney. So maybe I get, and then there is a lot of literature on the relationship between the Pentagon and Hollywood, as an example. So I think it's worth thinking about. I mean, I was the other day I was watching. I couldn't finish it; it was too stupid. But I watched like the first 30 minutes of 21 Jump Street remake. And there are all of these jokes, like in the first 25 minutes, where they're like, they're bike cops and they're frustrated because it sucks. And, they start losing their patience and like threatening to kill people. And they arrest the guy and they forget to read him the Miranda rights because one of the guy's an idiot. And it's like, it's just all of these things that, it's like, is this really like, it could be very funny if it was played as satire, but it's just sort of played as like, ah, man, this is a drag being at the ponds. Let's threaten to fucking kill somebody. It was like, really? Like, this is the kind of like pop culture representation of police violence. And, so I think it's a worthy conversation to look at how culture represents, certainly every aspect of, say, broadly speaking, the national security state, from policing to obviously the military, the intelligence world. And I would be shocked if there wasn't, in the same way with the Pentagon and CIA, like larger police departments, like if, the NYPD didn't have liaisons with, different people in the culture and entertainment industry.
Oh, well, I'll tell you this. When we did, when I wrote and shot Beat Cops, we had at least 2 police officers who were advisors. They got paid in cash. I went to, I got a tour of, I can't remember where it was. It was, I want to say like the 80th precinct or something like that, somewhere in Brooklyn. I can't remember where. I mean, this was now 25 years ago or 20 years ago. But I will say this to, Tom Sharpling had written a tweet to having, portrayed police in a certain way as he was the EP of Monk, and encouraged a contribution. I can't remember where it was, but I followed it on some level. But I have to say, in Beat Cops, John Benjamin and I played cops, and the only other police that you saw in the show threatened to beat us up. So we.
I remember the infamous was it Judy Gold scene?
And there was a Judy Gold scene.
That was funny. But wait, I thought she was another cop that threatened to beat you up.
No, she was not. She was in like a UPS delivery.
Oh, okay.
Person.
It was Nick DiPaolo.
Nick DiPaolo.
And he was great.
He was not actually that great. We had to cut around.
It was funny watching. What's hilarious about Nick DiPaolo is that his most memorable things I've ever seen him do acting wise are the being a cop threatening to beat you up, and then he was in a Chris Rock sketch where he didn't even have any lines. He's just beating a black guy on the ground.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. It's like his whole shtick is like, hey, you got to treat the cops with respect. Most of my acting gigs are cops that are complete pricks. The funniest one sign I saw at a protest here was this older gentleman was carrying a "Where's Serpico" sign.
What's this?
It was at one of the demonstrations in the past couple of weeks in New York that I went to. The guy was carrying a "Where's Serpico" sign. I loved it.
He's upstate New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.